to be here. I'd like to first start by acknowledging that I'm joining in from Gatineau, Quebec, which is on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Take a moment, if you feel like it, to think of the lands that you are joining in from as well. So this session will be in English, but feel free to ask any questions in either English or French. But during the presentations, please keep your mics on mute just to avoid any background noise and whatnot. And we'll be happy to hear your questions at the end with the Q&A session. Reminder, in case I forget later, this is a public platform, so please refrain from sharing any sensitive information. So as you know, as many of you know, a lot of entrepreneurs still find it difficult to navigate the business support landscape, to know which programs exist for them, that programs even exist for them, and where to find them, of course. So our role is to help them find these programs quickly and easily, and also to help people like many of you here today, maybe to save time as to help you point businesses to programs. So what you'll see today is a brief description of the Innovation Canada and the various programs that we have to support Canadian businesses, and also the live demo of the Business Benefits Finder. Following that will be a session with insights from our innovation advisors who are committed to helping businesses led by First Nation, Métis, and Inuit entrepreneurs across Canada. And then there'll be the Q&A chat afterwards. So today you'll leave with a better understanding of where to find programs for designed to support Canadian businesses, especially Indigenous-led businesses, and some tips and tricks to help you navigate the support system. So also contact information to connect with the innovation advisors that you'll be meeting today, as well as other innovation advisors that are located across the country. Just have something here. Okay, so this is us. My name is Léona. I'm with the marketing and outreach team of Innovation Canada. And joining me here today, we have Philippe Sioui Durand and Richard Tuck, who will provide a quick brief introduction. Over to you, Philippe.
Everyone. My name is Philippe Sioui Durand. I'm from the Huron-Wendat First Nation. I'm mostly in Quebec City or in Quebec region area, so I'm covering more of the east of Canada. So thanks and welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thanks.
Great. Merci, Philippe. Richard, did you want to say a brief?
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I'm calling in from Treaty 1 territory. I am Red River Métis, and I've been working for government for just 6 months. And in this role, and so it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, so a bit about Innovation Canada. So we have a few programs, many programs that are committed to backing entrepreneurs and businesses at every stage of their journey. The programs tend to fall into two categories: funding and services. So on the funding side, we have Innovative Solutions Canada, which funds R&D and also helps businesses by testing the prototypes in real life situation. There are active challenges, they sent out through challenges, and they're updated regularly on their website. Currently, I think there's 2 that will be closing soon actually, but there's 2 posted right now. We have the Canada Digital Adoption Program. This program helps support businesses by 2 grant programs. One is to help businesses get boost their e-commerce and get their either their e-commerce presence online or improve it. There's also up to $15,000 in grants to help businesses digitalize their entire, like their operations. For example, consolidating software or implementing cybersecurity tools. The Strategic Innovation Fund, that fund is supports major projects that are asking for investments of $10 million and more. And the Global Innovation Clusters. These clusters are initiatives that bring together the private sector, nonprofit, and academia, so they can work together, better collaborate and innovate to grow these industries. There are 5 clusters situated across Canada. We have we have digital technology, protein industries, the advanced manufacturing, scale AI, and ocean. So those are the our 5 clusters. Looking at the services now, we have Explore IP. You may have heard of Explore IP. It's Canada's intellectual property marketplace. It's a digital platform that you can use to find Crown-held IP and explore possibilities for licensing and collaboration with public sector patent holders. Elevate IP helps business accelerators and incubators provide the tools that Canadian startups need to protect their intellectual property, better manage and strategically manage their intellectual property and leverage their intellectual property. BizPal, you may have heard of BizPal. It's the tool that helps businesses identify the licenses and permits that they need at the municipal level, as well as provincial and territorial level, and of course, federal level. Which brings us to the Business Benefits Finder and Innovation Advisor Service and Accelerated Growth Service. So you've heard a bit about the programs from Innovation Canada, but today we're really focusing on the ways on the ways that Innovation Canada can help you find the programs that are out there. One is by using the Business Benefits Finder, the online tool, and the other is connecting with innovation advisors. Again, they're all throughout Canada, and you'll be meeting our 2 today. What the Business Benefits Finder is, in a nutshell, it's a tool that brings together hundreds of programs at the federal level, offered by federal government, as well as provincial and territorial government. There's some programs from nonprofits, but the focus is really on the government programs. It's pretty easy to use. It's very easy to use, actually. You just answer a few quick questions, and within 2 minutes, you've answered the questions, and you get a list of the programs and services that are most likely to match your needs or your clients' need, if you're using the Business Benefits Finder to serve clients. So you can narrow down the search by number of employees, by programs that are actively looking for applications, business owned by underrepresented people, or focus on specific areas of interest. So this is what it looks like briefly, but now we're going to switch over to the live demonstration. For the demonstration, an example, let's imagine we're a 33-year-old woman, we'll call her Julie, 33-year-old woman from the Métis community based in Toronto. She has a restaurant and 3 employees, and she's incorporated. She's looking for tax credits and grants, wage subsidies to help her hire new staff. She wants to build on her website and her social media presence. And she's also looking to open another location. So when we use the benefit, see here, this is what we call our story. And there are, I don't know if you can see my pointer here, but so what we're looking for here is funding and tax credits, wage subsidies, and why not expert advice as well. I'm looking specifically for up to $50,000. And my main goal here is to grow and hire. So in a lot of these questions, you're going to notice that it ends with all goals or choose all or whatnot. That's fine. You can choose that if you're not sure or if you're just exploring. But the goal of the business benefits finder is to help narrow down all the programs that are out there to the ones that are most likely to meet your needs. So in this case, Julie, she's situated in Toronto, and so in the business of tourism, I believe, tourism, accommodation, and food services. So more specifically, food services. So we have 3 employees, and the revenue of the restaurant so far is say 100,000 to 500,000. And we're looking for programs that support businesses owned by, she is incorporated, Julie's restaurant is, and she's for profit, and she would like to look for programs that are open to Métis, Canadians, women, youth, as she fits all these categories. Important to note here that when you're selecting these filters, actually, if you click on, there you can, so if when you click on these filters, for example, Métis, it doesn't bring up programs that these programs that are specific to Métis, but it won't exclude other programs, but it will bring up the programs that are only specifically for this audience. So here's and it's something I'd like to point out is you can choose all programs that are accepting or not. This allows you to plan for future programs that may be opening up at a later date, or that may open up again if there are additional funds, stuff like that. But for the purpose of the demonstration, we'll choose just the programs that are open right now. So it's done. Click see your results and see what we get here. So I really like this part because at the top, it's you see the summary of your results, summary of, we call it the story. From this point on, you can further adjust your answers easily with the little arrows. Also, yeah, so it's easy to make changes here. You can save your story. So this allows you to come back anytime. You won't lose your story or the results you've already inputted. It's a great time saver. There you go. I have a lot of emails sent to me lately. And just below the story here, you see how the results are grouped by category based on the information that we inputted. So here Julie was looking for, she was looking for the funding, tax credits, wage subsidies. We added in expert advice. So it's all nicely grouped in a visually appealing way. You can look at it through a grid. We can show you later, but this is a much more appealing way to look at the results. And so just below all these results, you'll find more. So this, we have here a little bit lower. So for example, so Julie didn't ask to look at loans and capital investments nor partnering, but hey, she might be like, oh, well, look, there's loans. Maybe I don't need a grant. Maybe it's a loan that's better for me. Let's see what's available. And yeah, you can click on loans and see great programs out there. So moving up a bit, we'll take a look at what happens with these results. Is it a link straight to the website? No, it's a bit more than that. We've done some hard work, really hard work at summarizing, you know, there could be pages, sometimes there's pages and pages of eligibility criteria and explanations and whatnot. We've pulled out the important parts that most businesses want to hear or read before they go further. So what kind of, it's a maximum 99,000. Okay, great. The status over here on the left. It's saying that's open. It's a non-repayable contribution. Okay, that makes a difference. You know, there's a difference in what kind of contribution one might be looking for. Oh, okay. Well, there it's saying non-repayable. Okay. And so from here, you can click on visit the program website, or you can just explore a little bit further before you want to do that. Okay, and now we can go down a bit further and see that there's a bit more information at the bottom of the results page. So if we just scroll down a bit more, this is where also it's like, so Julie didn't look for loans, but here they are. But if you scroll down a bit more, there's also even more results. Or maybe we want to click on one of these doves. You can have a little look at some of these extra ones that wasn't asked for, but it could be really interesting. Like that's where BizPal came up, and who we register as an Indigenous supplier and get access to procurement opportunities, register a trademark, all kinds of great programs. And in the middle here, we have First Things First. What's that? It's our blog. So Innovation has a blog called First Things First, which has articles, tips and tricks to help entrepreneurs with some of the questions we hear most often. For example, how to build a stronger application, or how to get the most out of the business benefits finder. There's another one. So there's great articles, and we add new ones fairly regularly. So it's always fun to check back and see what else there is available. And so if you scroll back to the top, the results page, just want to point out again that you can save your story, you can share it. So you can share it if, say, you're helping a client, or you have many different scenarios you're looking out for. You can share it this way as well. So this allows you to get notifications via email, not the sharing, but the saving allows you to get notifications via email about changes to the programs that you've favorited or that are part of your story, and also to receive notifications if a new program comes up that matches your situation or the answers you provided. So that's always a lot of fun. So there we have it for the, I just have to change my view here. Having a bit of technical difficulty. Be good now. Thanks. Okay, so that was a look at the business benefits finder, but sometimes we need a little bit more help. Our situation might want to ask some questions. So that's where innovation.
Saying you are working for the government, because my journey has been far from that. I'm going to start by saying that most of my career has been a mix between being an entrepreneur myself or helping entrepreneurs, and then academia. I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but I was doing my PhD in social entrepreneurship when some former students came to me and asked if I would be their CEO. So I said yes, eventually, quit my PhD, and over the next 3.5 years, we grew that startup into a multinational, multi-million-dollar social purpose company with the help of 1.8 million in seed round investment, mostly from angels and mostly from the US, which was difficult to do, being both Indigenous and two-spirited. Throughout my time as CEO, we didn't access a single government grant, as I was much too busy focused on sales and investments, then trying to figure out all the government programs and how to apply to them all. However, a couple of years after I exited the company, these innovation advisors started working, and that company became a client in 2019, ended up getting millions of dollars from the government because of that. So I recognized the value of this program. I went off to help nearly 200 other entrepreneurs, mostly who faced systemic barriers to their, to being an entrepreneur, whether they were for-profit or nonprofit. I also built, helped build the Indigenous entrepreneurship programs at multiple schools across Canada. And that's when Innovation Canada reached out and said, you have all these connections and experience. We want you to help us help more entrepreneurs. And so that's my story. And then I'll pass it on to Philippe.
Thanks, Richard. I will do both in French and in English now. Alors, pour commencer, moi, j'ai été, en fait, tout du côté de ma famille, du côté de mon père, on était beaucoup dans les arts et la culture Mon oncle a fondé la première compagnie de théâtre autochtone au Canada dans les années début 80 environ. Donc, il fait toute sa carrière, prix du gouverneur général, etc. Il a tout fait vraiment dans les arts et la culture. Et puis, j'avais comme un grand sentier à traverser moi-même. Et au fil des rencontres, au fil du temps, dans mon premier métier, j'ai fini mes études universitaires, puis j'ai décidé d'écrire un plan d'affaires qui approchait mon premier métier, c'est-à-dire j'étais technicien dans l'industrie du film et de la télévision. Et en plus, tout le bagage autochtone était là aussi très, très présent. Donc, j'ai décidé d'écrire un plan d'affaires et puis de jumeler les deux ensemble. Alors, je me suis dit, comment on peut amener des jeunes techniciens autochtones ou puis des moins jeunes ou des gens des communautés à s'intéresser au métier dans l'industrie audiovisuelle. Donc, j'ai démarré une compagnie, j'ai travaillé avec différentes assemblées des Premières Nations au Québec, particulièrement les différentes commissions des musées, des universités. On a créé beaucoup de contenu contenu de commande souvent pour des expositions, des vidéos corporatives, des podcasts, etc. Donc, j'étais beaucoup dans la communication, mais ça m'a permis de créer un réseau. Puis, j'avais déjà une expérience par le passé comme étudiant au gouvernement fédéral. Alors, j'avais déjà un peu l'infrastructure, j'avais déjà un peu comment ça fonctionnait. Mais l'opportunité est arrivée vers la fin de l'été dernière pour entrer dans ce rôle-là de conseiller à l'innovation. I can do a switch with English now. Just a summary of what I say in French. I was a part of my family was in the art and indigenous art and culture for them. So then I chose to bring my old occupation. I was a sound and video technician in the field, so in the industry. So I chose to after my universities to write a business plan, and then I started a company. My company was called Yandata, and Yandata is a Huron word that says a village. So we were doing mostly commissioned audiovisual work for plenty of the First Nation Assembly of Quebec, and then every other Indigenous commission there. So we were doing content for them, and this was my idea to bring younger people or any other people from any other person from I could say person from the communities to have to get new strength on technical on audiovisual field. So this was a way to do the communication and then to try to teach some knowledge in my project. So, and then just after, the end of, I will say the end of the last spring, I got I saw this new role, and I said, well, I could try it and try to help in a new other way that I was doing communication before. Then now I could do some new help on a new way of helping people than helping the nation. So this is what my kind of journey. So maybe Richard, I don't know if you want to talk about our role or something specific. And we could talk about a little bit about Mark, that he's part of our team, and we see his picture there. So Mark is helping us a lot in the Ontario region. So you can see this too. Next slide, yes, please. So even while we are a network of innovation advisors who are across the Canada, there will be the map on the next one, but we are almost, I would say, 140 people around. This is a kind of big team we got around all and each of entrepreneurs. So we are coming as myself and as Richard and as any other advisor, we are mostly coming from the private sector, and then sometimes they get some people have a background in engineering, in many other bio something. So there's plenty of people got a lot of experience, and it's a really an experienced team we got as across the Canada. And I'm counting, yeah, almost 100 people when we're counting the people that are doing the operational operational team. Alors, on est une équipe d'environ plus d'une centaine de personnes au niveau des conseillers en innovation, mais aussi avec l'équipe d'opération qui nous entoure. Donc, on est vraiment une équipe expérimentée provenant de différents secteurs, privés, publics, des backgrounds aussi variés que les ingénieurs, ou toutes sortes de gens qui ont été rassemblés autour d'une équipe vraiment porteuse puis expérimentée. As I said, while we are across the Canada, Richard is somewhere between, no, he's in the prairies, I'm joking, and I'm more like, I'm in Quebec, where there's the point. It's not me, but it's close. But so we are across the Canada, and we got, and then the way we work, Richard and me, we are mostly work as a, well, we are working Canada-wide, so I'm mostly concentrating my work in the east part of Canada. Then Richard is somewhere in the other part. So, but we got the help of every colleague in in each offices. So c'est vraiment un travail collaboratif entre moi et Richard. Moi, je travaille vraiment plus l'est du Canada. Richard travaille plus l'ouest, mais on fait quand même fi des frontières. On travaille beaucoup en partenariat, on travaille beaucoup en collaboration avec nos collègues aussi. Donc, oui, c'est divisé par territoire, mais pour de vrai, on travaille vraiment dans un mode collaboratif. We are working so close as a collaborative mode. Even if it is really office related, it's not true. We are working so close. Maybe I can, well, I want to bring something, well, as innovation. You were probably asking what we think about innovation. What is it innovation for us? Well, I could bring that. Well, as my point of view, actually, the innovation in the indigenous world is mostly commercial, social, technological, economic, environment, land, and so innovation is sometimes a word that it's really something really used by the time. I would say in French, c'est vraiment à la mode, le mot innovation, but we consider it as more as a broader way to bring many topics in one. So it's not just technical. It could be social. It could be job creation. It could be knowledge sharing, learning. So l'innovation, on le voit quand même d'une perspective, parce que c'est souvent un mot très, très à la mode. C'est un mot qu'on ne sait pas trop comment le définir, mais nous, on essaie d'amener pas juste l'aspect technologique, mais l'aspect de l'environnement aussi, économique, etc. Donc, on essaie de prendre la définition. Puis, c'est pourquoi, dans la façon dont on aide l'entrepreneur qui vient nous voir, on a toujours un premier point de discussion. On a toujours on veut savoir, on veut comprendre c'est quoi les besoins. Puis, oui, on va lui montrer différents programmes. On va le faire naviguer dans l'écosystème. Mais parfois, on intervient en pré-commercialisation, en commercialisation. Donc, parfois, on intervient aussi, puis la majorité du temps, normalement, on intervient dans une entreprise qui est très commercialisée, qui est très prête. I was saying in English now. We are, I try to remember what I say. Well, innovation is well, it's a many, it's a concept that, it's a word that bring many concept in one. So our goal or a way to advise people is to first get an advisory service, ask what is your need, and then we try to confront to the all of our programs, as could be federal, provincial, municipal, and could be for sure indigenous organization. So we try to do kind of a table around a partner around the table for the entrepreneur, and we are more as a as a navigator, as a facilitator. So our role is trying to be the best advisor and to help to get quickly the need that the person or the company needs to have. So we are working mostly on the we are mostly working on the commercialization. Sorry, this one is tough in English, but la commercialisation. And then, well, the company is ready to export when the company is mostly growth. And then sometimes we work in the pre-commercialization. Sometimes, well, you got a prototype, you got something ready or not, but you are not ready for the market, so we can help on this one. And then we could work even further, not further, but before. We can work in the pre-commercialization when just the promoter got the idea, but you don't know how to do the next step, so we can help on this field too. So next.
C'est moi.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard.
No worries. So I think if I look at it, I think there's three ways that we really help entrepreneurs and indigenous businesses. And so, like Philippe was saying, one is just exploring the right amount of or the right programs. And so basically what happens is we'll have a quick call with entrepreneurs, with people like yourselves that are helping develop businesses, and 30 minutes, and we'll quickly find are they innovative, are they growing, is there something that we can help with, and so if there is, then we go to the kind of the second tier of the service, which is that advice, that advisory. And it's not just us, and it's not just all of the innovation advisors across the country that we can call upon. Like Philippe said, everyone comes from different experiences, and so in different sectors, but we're all come from private sector, and we've all experienced potentially the pain of government funding and applying for it, and so we pull together a small group and figure out, what are the plans, and how can we help this company in the very short term. Those companies that are and so if we go to the next one, if those companies that are really kind of really growing and could have exceptional growth, what we do is a growth service. And so with that growth service, we, it's kind of like a certain level of investment that's been made, jobs that have been created, sales that have been reached, right? And usually we're talking in the millions. And so because they've reached that level, there's specific provincial and federal and territorial programs, as well as other non-governmental or non-governmental organizations, but with government-backed supports. There's all of them kind of have the ability to now put in even more money. So in these cases, we work with the company and partners to devise a 2-year growth plan, more or less, and a dedicated innovation advisor like Philippe or myself acts as kind of like the project manager between all of these different supports, all at no cost to the company. Okay, so we don't cost anything, but over those 2 years, we'll see things change, new programs come in, old ones leave, and it's really the dedicated innovation advisor will help adapt the plan to maximize those supports. Now, we've talked a lot about partners and programs, and here's a list of the main partners most innovation advisors use. But we actually have partnership agreements with over 70 organizations, and the number is always growing, right? So we'll find new ones that are interesting, new ones pop up. So specific to our roles as Indigenous leads, Philippe and I talk actually a lot to Indigenous Services Canada, ISC, right? Procurement Canada's Indigenous leads to figure out solutions for Indigenous clients and communities, really, because some of them, the way the businesses work can be a little bit different. So on the next slide, we have specific kind of programs that are often available, you know, kind of the front of our minds when we go to and talk to an Indigenous person or Indigenous entrepreneur or a community or ECDev a person, you know, we're looking at, okay, so, you know, BDC has a specific Indigenous entrepreneur loan. There's, you know, the AFIs, right, across Canada. ISC has the Aboriginal Entrepreneurship Program, which has various parts. The Canadian Council for Arts has the Creating Knowledge and Sharing, right? So there's a bunch of things that come in. Community Futures, especially in Western Canada, has Indigenous business development services specifically, right? So these are the programs that that we think of kind of right off the bat. Now, that being said, there's lots more programs, you know, not all of these will always fit, but you know, these are kind of the ones that we go to. And then part of the reason that we, you know, I talk about community futures or the AFIs is really because we're looking at especially that startup and especially Indigenous, you're really looking at a regional support. And so, you know, we talk about accessing regional supports a lot. You know, and how do we do that? And so, you know, one of the ways is connecting to the regional development agencies. So I live in the prairies, so we have Prairies Can. In BC, there's Pacific Can. On the East Coast, there's a COA, the FedDev and FedNor and all the rest. So all of these are regional development agencies who, you know, along with us can also contribute to strategic partnership initiatives. So SPIES out of ISC, we are a collaborator on those, or can be a collaborator on those. Another way is connecting with community futures. Many community futures in provincial organizations have programs specifically to support Indigenous business. And then finally, each province and territory has their own way of working with Indigenous communities for economic development and business creation. The example here that I've given is Alberta has the Aboriginal Business Investment Fund, which is specifically for First Nations community-owned businesses, right? So it's those ECDev, you know, band-owned economic development corporations, really moving that forward. And back to you, Léona, as I see we have lots of questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard, and Philippe as well. So as you can see, innovation advisors have a lot to offer Canadian businesses. And as promised at the beginning of the presentation, I said we'd share some contact information. So here you see how we have the support for Indigenous-led businesses, email boxes also for the Pacific, Yukon, all the different regions across Canada. So that's a shared mailbox that, you know, depending on your question, you know, the proper innovation advisor will be getting back to you. There's also generic information at the bottom of this slide. Don't need to note this down. We'll be sending it out. Elsie will be sending this out, the deck, as well as some contact information out with the follow-up package. So we're happy to So yeah, I'd like to point out that the Indigenous-led business mailbox is fairly new, so we're really proud about that one. You know, just the easy, you know, the best way we can serve Canadian businesses is really what we try to achieve there. So this brings us to our Q&A session. This is where we can learn a little bit more from each other, do things a little bit different. So we have a few questions in the queue here. Maybe I'll start with those. Or
I think Georgia actually has a really perfect question for me.
okay, yeah.
So what we'll do is I'll take that question and reverse it while people are thinking about other questions to ask us. So the question was, you know, does the advisor only support the entrepreneur directly, or will the advisor work with economic development officers or ECDEV staff that support entrepreneurs? So we can work with both. We can work with anybody. Our question to you, because Philippe and I, again, we've been only here for about 6 months, and during those 6 months, we've been talking about how do we better connect with economic development advisors and officers and the band-owned ECDEV corps, and how can we support those people more? And so that's the question I have for you all. And now you don't have to, you know, give an answer right now. You know, feel free to put it in the chat or even email us later. But the question is, how can we better serve you all? Because that, you know, that to me is really where the power can come through. And so how you know, we'd love to work with you. Short answer. Longer question. How do we work better with you? So I'm going to turn it back on you, Georgia.
I'll add here, Georgia, feel free to turn on your screen or just your mic so we can have a conversation. That's totally welcome as well. Maybe, or you can write it out in the chat if you prefer, whatever you wish.
I'm checking the chat, and maybe Bonnie Bergeron says something in the chat. I said, well, she would. They mentioned patent.
Yeah.
We could find a specialist for.
Actually, I'm hearing a like TV or something in the background.
Georgia, I think it's Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Before I forget about it, I think that the CBF info sheet is good.
Yeah, except on one error.
Can someone mute Georgia? Thank you, Georgia.
So I was just jumping in on Bonnie. They just write in they were talking about the patent. So we got the link for we got the specialists to talk about the patent and all the IP questions. So it's something really important and something sometimes forgotten at the start. So, or even further in the process of business creation or a market. So we can help on to find the right person, the right people to talk about all the IP. And that's just an example of what we could do as a really precise topic.
Okay, thank you. Is that a contact I would ask for you now to put it in the chat, or we would just reach out to you when things start ramping up?
The best way is to get an appointment, and we could plan something with. So yeah, well, yeah.
So Philippe, would you like Bonnie to reach out directly to you or to go to the Indigenous Business Center?
We have a great new mailbox, brand new mailbox. It could be this, and depending if Richard, depending the first is who is available, would be a pleasure to talk with you, or we could be both.
Does that work, Bonnie?
I will screenshot the contacts here, and those are the ones I can reach out to, right?
Yeah, and we'll be sending them to you, so don't worry about that.
Okay,
go ahead.
thank you so much.
Go ahead, Patricia. And nice seeing you again.
Hi. I'm coming from Treaty 4. I moved just like Richard. I went from the Saskatchewan Indigenous Economic Development Network, working specifically with entrepreneurs, into the provincial government. And so I'm really happy to know that you guys are on the ground. We know that CEDA, our Saskatchewan Economic Development Alliance, is holding the CDAP, and that they're also hiring some digital advisors in Saskatoon and Regina. So one of my questions is, Richard, I'm hoping that now that you've joined government that you're not chained to your desk, because I was really hoping that you could come out to be one of our guest speakers at a digital transformation optimization forum that we're planning. So I currently work with the province of Saskatchewan. I'm in trade and export, Indigenous economic development, but we're in partnership with SIEDN, the Saskatchewan Indigenous Economic Development Network. And I became a secret fan of yours, and I've been, I think we became friends on LinkedIn, so thank you for that. I really liked what you had to say in terms of, the trends and where tech is taking us. And we realized that a lot of our nations are remote. So we wanted to kind of open up in terms of some of that discussion around the realities of that digital divide, some of the challenges around broadband. And so we've been looking at some projects here in Saskatchewan where they've been able to navigate that with internet service providers and had some successes. So some in our northern Saskatchewan and southern Saskatchewan. So short answer is yes, you are available, or would we have to go through our advisors? These are specifically Indigenous owned businesses and or dev corps and or business development officers or individuals. So that would be the kind of the target audience.
So Patricia, yeah. So you and I have had other conversations. We can talk offline about this. It still fits exactly within the mandate of ICID and Innovation Canada and the Growth Service. And now that you're with the Saskatchewan government, we could actually, I'll be tapping on your shoulder as well to get a lay of the land of how we help more Indigenous companies in Saskatchewan specifically. So that's really great that you're there, and congratulations on that move.
Good. And while I've got you on the line, e-commerce platforms. And so one of the things that we're looking at is our Innovation Saskatchewan, but also our Saskatchewan Trade and Export Partnership. We're looking at Indigenous businesses that have been able to navigate that e-commerce successfully. And then those that in terms of startups that are coming up and saying, we've had some issues with Shopify, we've had some issues. I know that there's usually a top 15, even some advice to those businesses in terms of, exploring. And so I know that it's tough to say, oh, this one's the best. And then the other portion of that agenda is going to be trade. It's going to be those individuals that have successfully, been able to open up and doing into that trade and export side. Are you aware of the April 12th tech startup that we're hosting in Saskatchewan? No.
April 12th. Is that Uniting the Prairies?
No, this is SIEDN. It's
okay.
Tech. It's more of an angel investors tech forum. Good. Well, I don't think I have your phone number. I've been writing down emails. So the 1-833 number, is that where I get a hold of you?
That goes to our we have a call center. What I'll do is I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn and I'll send you my phone number so that we can have a separate conversation around all of this.
Okay. And Léona, in your presentation, you mentioned, I believe you were talking about cybersecurity tools. And so we work with Indigenous businesses throughout Saskatchewan, and we have we have a fabricating company that has defense. They work with defense, so they have to have really high security when it comes to contracts and how they store their data. But it's also something that other businesses, we realize even just at a band level, like at a First Nations level, especially through COVID and everybody taking home laptops and, you know, all this kind of thing, that a lot of nations weren't even ready for cybersecurity. So we've been doing some work, not so much in my current role, but around some of that business continuity and how cybersecurity falls into that. And so I'm interested in learning a little bit more about the cybersecurity tools that you mentioned. One of you mentioned it earlier, and I thought it was in Léona's presentation.
For some reason, Léona, your voice, you're not coming through. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that, but I see that you're off mute, but I'm not sure.
How's this?
There you go.
I love Zoom. Sorry about that. So thanks, Patricia, for the question. When I mentioned cybersecurity, it was through the Canada Digital Adoption Program that program helps fund companies through, you know, getting their business online, and they're giving their e-commerce a boost, or to help them with digitalizing their operations. I don't have the specific details of that, but I'm happy to get that to you. Or if you're having that conversation with Richard, he might be able to provide more information one-on-one about that program. And as far as other programs that might be specific to that, Richard should be able to help you out with that, since you're already going to have a
conversation. Perfect. So CDAP is, you know, we have a couple partners. The biggest partner is BDC, but CCAB is also a partner and can deliver funds. And so there's kind of multiple stages for the CDAP, and again, one of them is around cybersecurity. So just in short, so that everybody can understand, stage one is basically you get a money to pay for a pre-approved advisor to come in, and if we're talking about cybersecurity, they're going to be looking at, you know, what's happening in cyber, what's happening with your business in terms of security, what are your needs, you know, what's happening. And then they can provide some suggestions. If those suggestions require a substantial amount of money, that's when BDC can come in and give you a interest-free loan for, you know, a certain amount of time, and in order to beef that up. And so that's the program. However, I will say one of the problems that we all and Philippe and I continually talk about this is that and it's only for businesses that are incorporated. So bands are not incorporated for profit. So bands are not able to access it. If you're a sole proprietor, you are not able to access it. However, the ECDev Corp, if that is actually incorporated, and it's seen as for profit, even though the profits go, you know, back to the band, if it's incorporated for profit, it can be accessed through there.
And just a question on that. So when we're advising individuals about the Canadian Digital Adoption Program, as I said, I know that CETA is hiring advisors locally and that they're administering that program, as far as I know, for Saskatchewan. Is that the route that we would take here in the prairies, is going through CETA and going through that? So it's not like
they might just have the small portion, right? So just like CCAB has the small portion, and then to get the larger portion, you have to go through BDC, because the BDC is it's a loan, right? And so that might be the difference there.
Okay, good. Thanks for that clarification.
Hi, Richard. You see there's a question from Trista. Where would an organization that is not Indigenous, however, works with Indigenous communities, look for support?
Again, they can come to us. If the meaning the Indigenous, meaning innovation advisors across Canada, and this happens all the time. So, you know, in BC, a company can go there and they say, when they talk to the innovation advisor and they explain what they're doing, if they say, hey, we're working with Indigenous communities, what the innovation advisor in BC can do, because they have all the connections in BC, they know the programs that are specific to BC. What they do then is invite either Philippe or I over and say, can you help with this advisory? Because they are working with Indigenous communities, and so they could, you know, get different supports. And then again, we have a really good relationship with ISK, and Indigenous Services Canada does have a new business navigator unit. And so we work really well with them, and we might bring them in as well, and to figure out all of this. So again, so it's these companies that are really growing, that are innovative. They're doing, you know, they're providing impact to the Canadian economy and to Canadians, and you know, and you know, again, from our perspective in this conversation, Indigenous people in Canada. Those are the companies that we want to, you know, coalesce around and provide, you know, multiple supports to really see growth and impact.
Great.
Well, that's the word I would just say. Well, we see a lot of joint venture actually in the field, so it's not well, you can help them for sure, as any other advisor we got in the team. So we do, for example, we do actually a file with Richard, and it's in Alberta, but it's a Quebec company that's coming in Alberta. So there's so much possibility that we can help. Yeah, so just reach us. And then we got something else from Patricia.
So Patricia, we actually have a partnership team that formalizes the partnerships. That being said, while formalization is happening, we can work with them, and the formalization really is just about access to information, because everything that an entrepreneur tells us, or you know, is all covered by an NDA. However, when we work with the different partners, what we're saying is, okay, we can now share about, you know, client X. We can share information between them in order to, or between the different partners, in order to, again, you know, really make an impact with this. And like Philippe's saying, you know, there's a perfect example in this Quebec company that's, you know, got a joint venture with an Alberta First Nation Economic Development Corp to build a whole new, you know, plant there, and it's going to actually affect 6 other First Nations that can now provide some agriculture product to this plant. So it's a really, you know, it's a big kind of ECDev play. And so, you know, it requires all sorts of people to come around. So there's 4 innovation advisors on this file. And then we're bringing in, you know, all these other partners and just sharing information again, so that we can speed up this process.
Well, thank you, Philippe. Richard, this has been excellent. I think we had a lot of great questions, so this was very great webinar. Before y'all have to jump off, I want to remind you that here's some contact information to reach out to innovation advisors in your region, or to reach out the Indigenous business mailbox. Recommendation, try to start off, hey, I heard from somebody this date, and I want, you know, make sure the question is a bit clear. So you know, if you want to speak directly to Philippe, you can say, hi Philippe, how's it going, you know. Yeah, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. My email is here as well if you have general questions about the Innovation Canada programs, or want to be directed to our innovation advisors. So thanks again, Richard and Philippe. I really appreciate what great insights. And well, I'd like to wish you a great evening. I'm not sure if Elsie was going to be jumping off, but I'm sure some of you have to get dinner on the way. Oh, I see something here. The social incubator you assisted, is it Indigenous specific? Are you aware of any Indigenous specific incubators?
Well, just a quick answer on this one. There's actually the first one I saw is in Ottawa. There's a small incubator. I could say a hub, mostly as a safe space hub that you can create your company and get help. And then there's a project that's coming in Toronto, maybe next year or the other. There's a big project, but actually there's not so much a real incubator structure, but it's coming in. It's more like a hub, something.
Yeah,
For a moment.
the one in Manitoba that you might be talking about, Patricia, isn't. It was born out of an Indigenous study and Indigenous entrepreneurs, but it's not just for Indigenous. It's for BIPOC in general. So it's all sorts of barriers, entrepreneurs that face multiple barriers.
Great. Thank you to the Innovation Canada team. And thank you everybody for joining us for our Links to Learning webinar. And we'll have another webinar next Tuesday. Hope you have a great afternoon and thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Elsie.